Hey! Would you use a robot in your daily life? Hey guys, I hope you're well. Come with me for this new episode. I'm going to meet Louis-David Benyayer. He is a professor and AI initiative coordinator at ESCP Business School. I'm very curious to know more about his journey and his vision of AI. Let's walk. Hi Louis-David, how are you?
Hello, Anobla. I'm very well, thank you.
I'm so happy to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
I know you're doing so many things in your life. How would you define yourself to someone who doesn't know you?
I'm passionate about digital technologies and how they change how business are conducted. So this is what I'm passionate about. And I teach, I research, I develop programs, and I'm also part of the digital transformation of the school, ESCP Business School.
It sounds very interesting. And you told me to come here in this place. So where are we? Why in this place?
So we are at the Paris headquarters of Hugging Face. Hugging Face is the leading open source platform for open source models and data sets for artificial intelligence. And we are here today with our colleagues and partners because the ESCP forged a partnership with the company to make available premium features to all of our 10,000 students.
So it's a chance for the students to have this partnership, right?
Yes, it's additional resources for them to move from tech users to tech producers.
Before we talk about AI and your work, I would love to know more about you. Who are you, Louis-David?
Well, I was born and raised in Paris.
Okay, so a Parisian.
Parisian, exactly. Even a bit caricatural, right? The typical Parisian. And then I studied in ESCP Business School for a few years. And when I joined the job market, I started in strategy consulting. I moved to entrepreneurship, started a few companies. Some failed, others succeeded.
Okay, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And then I joined and started a think tank for investigating digital business models. And that was a time when I thought I would allocate more time to research and teaching. And I joined the ESCP about 10 years ago.
So you were a student at ESCP and now you're a teacher.
Exactly.
And why did you decide to specialize on AI? Why AI and not something else?
Well, actually, I think I never decided to specialize in AI. I was interested into the digital business models 15 years ago, and I was amazed by how they changed value creation mechanisms, competition dynamics, those new big companies that were taking the majority of the economy. And when you're starting investigating how they're making their money and how they're thriving, you end up naturally investigating data. And data as the resource, the main resource for the digital economy. That was that word at the time, data is the new oil, right?
Yeah,
so
it was the future.
Exactly, and it was perceived as the major resource. So I digged into that, and rapidly, when you investigate this, you conclude that data by itself has no value. You have no value storing data in your computer, right? It's because it's used that you can extract some value. How is it used? With machine learning models, analytics, software, in a word, artificial intelligence, even though at that time it wasn't called that
This way. And how would you define AI?
Well, it's a very big term, right?
Yes.
But one
and
way...
we use it a lot, but we don't really know what is it exactly.
Yeah, so maybe we can say that it's the ability of a machine to perform some tasks that we thought would be for humans only. Making a decision, creating a text, setting a price, writing a recommendation letter. All of these tasks that we thought would be limited to humans are now being made by machines, right? So that's why I said artificial and intelligence is maybe a way to define. So how do they do this? Similar to us humans, they are trained to perform that task. How are they trained? Well, they are trained by humans that are providing them with a bunch of data, historical data about what happened, and then making some calculations on that data set the machines is able to make some connections between data. So when you present it something new, as it has learned from many, many different previous examples, it can perform the task. That's how machines are trained to recognize cats in a picture. We give them millions of images of cats, labeling the image saying, this is a cat. And when you do this millions of times, the machine, the software, is able to identify what is a cat, even though it would never understand what a cat is.
Yeah, but okay, so it's very interesting. I love this definition. At ESCP, AI is in the heart of everything. I know you're in charge of integrating AI into programs. Why is this important?
Well, it's important for many reasons. The first reason is that AI is adopted massively in business and corporations. So
It's the future of business and job markets, and
I would say it's the present.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you
It's
see the level of adoptions, they're super high. So it's our responsibility to prepare our students for being able to act in the workforce in a world where AI is everywhere. So that's the first reason why we think it's important that we teach our students about the technology, about its promises, but also about the challenges that are associated, so that they become aware of the responsibilities that they would be having. So that's, let's say, the first reason. Then there is a second reason why it's important, is because when it comes to research, AI is, of course, a very significant tool for research,
Yes.
but it's also a very important topic being researched. I mentioned adoption.
As you're doing.
Exactly. And there is a third reason, which is specific to generative AI, that changes the way we teach, the way we assess our pedagogy with our students. So this is a very different topic, because here we're talking about our own digital transformation. We can no longer do the same things that we were doing in the past.
Yes.
And we need to adapt the way we're interacting.
And did you face any resistance from the students, the teachers, maybe?
Well, I need to say that globally, there was, of course, some of excitement and enthusiasm for engaging with the technology. And of course, the students and some profs didn't wait for the school to make decisions to engage with the technology. But it's true that some of our students and faculty express some concerns about the technology, because we know that it comes with challenges, biases, security, fairness of treatment with algorithms, all of those topics, personal data protection, you can name at least 10 of them, right?
It can be scaring. Yes.
It is scaring, or at least it raises some concerns that need to be addressed.
Yes.
So for that reason, some of our students and faculty, I wouldn't say they're reluctant of using it, but I would say that they're concerned and they are cautious. That
And they want to understand. Yeah.
And more, they want also to shape the usage of the technology in a direction that is responsible and it is at the benefit of the users.
And concretely, what did you put in place at ESCP into the programs for the students, for the teachers?
So first, it comes with accessing the tools and the technology. This is why we're here today. We have partnered with several providers of artificial intelligence to equip our 10,000 students with the technology. So Hugging Face is one of them. OpenAI is another one. That's the first thing. But of course, to master the tool, you need to be trained on. So we also engaged into massive efforts of training our prof and faculty and staff and students on the technology itself. And then now we are in the phase of redesigning and redefining some of our processes so that they integrate more AI. For example, we have courses that have nothing to do with AI at first, right? Human resource, finance, marketing, economics, accounting, you name it. For each of those courses, we are asking our prof responsible to ask themselves the question, what is the role of AI in that domain? So you can understand that it's more profound than just giving a course on AI. It's investigating in each and every of our course where does AI fit. But in addition to that, we also are very conscious that our students need to be trained on other things than AI. Some of those competencies that are made even more demanded because there is AI. Critical thinking, creativity, social emotions, social intelligence, all of these domains that are not technology related, but are made more demanded because everything is automated. So this is why we're trying and working hard to find that balance. On the one side, we're all in the technology, engaging in it, and at the same time, we try to balance and to have, let's say, a balanced view on its usage and on the other things that are necessary.
And you're talking about balance. With ChatGPT, Gemini, there's always a new version of these tools. How are you doing to adapt? Because everything is going so fast.
Well, that's, of course, one of the big challenge because all of these companies are releasing new models on a weekly basis. And some of them are, let's say, just a marginal evolution, but others are really a significant one. So it's very difficult for us to adapt and to take that into account. To put it very simply, we can't follow exactly at their rhythm. So what we do is we try our best to train our audiences, prof, faculty, but also students on the core concepts, which are beyond the hype of the latest models, so that they're equipped to surf the wave themselves. But at the same time, we're also investing some resources centrally with a team, an AI team that is dedicated to scout those new models, new technologies, test them, and identify if and how we should use them within the school. So this is the way we're trying to deal with that unprecedented.
At least you're trying.
Yes, we are. We are.
Yeah, but you're doing a very challenging work. Yeah.
The challenge lies in the frequency of change. That's true.
Wow, amazing. There is a gym in this place.
Yeah, I think it's part of the startup culture, right?
Louis-David, let's have fun. I have a game for you. I name a situation and you tell me if you use AI or not. You tell me if you're a good person or not.
No,
I'm joking.
That's not about this.
Preparing a class outline.
Yes. I'm using it for doing some research, maybe also finalizing some wording so that my objective is better reached.
Okay. Correcting students' assignments.
No, that's not authorized by the law. The AI Act forbids that we grade our students. However, I tried to have some feedback, which is not a grade, written by AI. I need to say that it's good for some, but it lacks what I would personally put in the feedback.
Just for help.
It helps.
Okay. Preparing a conference.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Of course.
How you use it for a conference?
Making some research, having ideas about how to structure the arguments, having some feedback on rough and drafts. That's super useful.
Okay. Summarizing a book you didn't have time to read.
Well, yes, that happens.
Okay. What kind of book, for example?
Well, business books, right?
Yes, boring books.
No, I wouldn't say this, but let's say books that you don't read for your own pleasure.
Okay, I understand. Making a big life decision.
No, never. And really, I think no one should.
Okay, but sometimes, I can ask ChatGPT about life situations or it can help psychological things with.
I agree, and this is something we observe very much, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to making the decision, that's why I was reacting. But it's true that to think about the situation, it provides some help for sure. But be careful, right? Because you know that they have that tendency of pleasing you.
Yes, that's true. But on the prompt, you can correct it and ask ChatGPT, for example, to
You're
tell
a super advanced user.
Yes, I am.
You should
I'm
come to my class.
I'm trying.
And teach our students.
Last situation, do you use AI to understand a medical diagnosis?
No, and there are two reasons. First, I have the luck of not being ill very often.
Okay, you're
And
a very
second,
healthy person.
well, for now. And second, my wife is a doctor, so in case I have a problem, I would naturally more turn to her than the
Okay,
machine.
nice. So you're lucky.
I am.
Good.
For two reasons.
I think we have a special guest.
Yeah, exactly.
A robot. Hey. Hey, he say hello. That's crazy. Would you use a robot in your daily life?
Maybe, but maybe another one.
That's crazy.
But it's amazing, of course. And do you authorize me to ask you a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
So have you ever consulted for deciding on a date?
Not really. No.
Not really?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And have you ever used it for preparing a trip somewhere?
Yes, I did, but I use more Google because for me, ChatGPT is not updated to this kind of things. I'm right?
Apparently,
Yes.
there are a lot of stories of people going to a very faraway place in
Okay.
Peru and looking for that very big cascade that has been written
On ChatGPT.
but that doesn't exist.
That's crazy.
So we see a lot of those videos online of people very disappointed because
Yeah.
they follow the advice.
That's crazy. So, that's why I trust more Google for that. And now, time for the reverse interview. If you could ask your young self a question, what would you say?
Wow, I have very bad memory. So if I could ask my young
Because
ones,
you're getting old.
Exactly. So I would ask him, what have you been doing last week? And maybe it would bring back some interesting memories.
Okay, and what kind of memories?
I don't know. I don't remember. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. Louis-David, let's be honest. Do you think it's easier to be a student now than it was when you were students, for example?
Well, first, it's not supposed to be easy to be a student.
True.
Because learning takes some efforts. You need to spend time doing things, exercising, memorizing, applying. Sometimes you struggle because you don't understand. Sometimes you struggle because you can't do what you're supposed to do. So let's be honest, as you said, it takes some uncomfort and it's not easy to learn.
But with AI.
I see your point.
Yes.
I see your point. So
Let's be honest.
So it's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to subcontract.
Yes.
And to have the machine doing the studying role. But if you do this as a student, you're losing on two sides. First, you're using your time not for what you're expected doing, which is learning. And so you're losing time, you're losing money, but you're also losing an opportunity to develop some skills. And so when your studying time is over and you join the job market, if you can't perform, well, you don't get a job.
It doesn't make sense.
So I would say that I know it's hard because there is this tendency and easiness to turn to the chatbot, but this is our job as educator to give our students the ways and practices and tools so that AI becomes a support for learning and not a substitute.
Yes, sure.
But it's true that it's not easy.
Yeah. And do you think we can still think for ourselves with AI?
Well, I think we should.
Yeah.
We should try and make sure that we are able to analyze a situation by ourselves without relying on a tool, that we're able to make a decision without relying on a tool, not only because we want our brain to work, but because we want to be empowered as human, right? We don't want to be dependent on a technology because it contains numerous biases and problems that we mentioned already, but also because those products are in hands of corporations. And we know that corporations' interests are not always fully aligned with individuals' interests, even though they're not devil, but we know that corporations have kind of different interests.
So the challenge is how we use it the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah. We are already at the end of this video. Let's talk about the future. According to you, what will happen to those who refuse to adapt to AI?
Well, I'm not sure that I would have the term adapt, right? I think it's important that everyone is aware that AI is here.
Yes.
Whatever we think about it, it's here. in our smartphone, in our computer, in the streets, facial recognition, and it's here, right? So I think it's important for everyone to be aware of that situation, and then everyone needs to decide for their life of what they want to do, right? Some of them, like some of us, would engage with the technology, and others would consider and decide that they prefer doing other things, and that's totally fine.
Do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible, and I would say that even for some activities, it will be remaining AI-free, right? Think about care-related activities. Taking care of children. I hope it will never be the robot we saw that would take care of young children, right? Taking care of elderly people. That's a part of the economy that is growing, that is probably a bit AI-free in their operations. Think about art. The exercise of producing an art piece.
But AI can make art as well.
No, AI cannot make art. AI can support an artist that makes art. AI as a tool can be used, but AI has no intention. And what is art? It can be defined as an intention.
Human intention, And what is your vision of the future in the education, in the job markets?
Well, you know, if I'm here, it's that I'm bad at predictions. Otherwise, I would have made a fortune on the financial markets, right? So, sorry, but I can't tell what's the future about. And when you look at how it's changed over the last 2 years, and even the last year, it's super hard to trace what will be the future about. So sorry, but I won't have that.
I understand. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was so interesting, Louis-David, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thank you
very much. Bye, Anobla.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Personally, I learned a lot about AI, about how new technologies are reshaping our society, and I can't wait for the next conversation, for the next guest. So see you soon for the next video. Bye.